So welcome everybody to my channel, actualize.id. So in this channel we learn about neurosemantics and self-actualizations, and we had the privilege here to have Dr. Michael Hall here with us as the founder of Neuro-Semantics. And we are here in Holiday Inn Resort, Bali. We are having a Neuro-Semantics Trainers Training 2019, sponsored by MetaMind. So this is just an interview with Michael, and for all of you that might wondering what self-actualization is, now we have the chance, and I already asked a couple of you to ask questions, so I'll be reading some of the questions later. So Michael, thank you very much. It's been an honor and privilege to be with you here. So tell us about yourself. How did you come to neurosemantics, and how did you find self-actualization?
Well, neurosemantics grew out of NLP. So I had been an NLP trainer for nearly 10 years, and then because of some of the circumstances in the field of NLP, we decided we want to raise the quality and the professionalism of NLP to a new level, and the name we gave to it was Neuro-Semantics.
And where does that name come from?
Well, Korzybski. So Alfred Korzybski authored the phrase neuro-linguistics and neuro-semantics in his original work that distinguished map from territory and created a cognitive philosophy, cognitive psychology for how we humans function.
Okay. So in that neurosemantics, I know semantics is meanings and neuro is neurology.
Right.
How does that connect it with self-actualization?
Well, self-actualization, actualizing your highest meanings, values, visions, and making it real, making it actual, so that it's not just dreaming and potential, but tapping into it and now unleashing that. We have to work with your meanings and your body, your feeling states, your gestures, your movements, your actions, your skills, your competencies.
Okay.
So neurology has everything to do with physiology, state of mind and body, how we express the meanings and the ideas that we have inside.
Okay, so expressing the ideas that we have inside.
Right.
Is that what self-actualization is about? Actualizing that meaning and have it perform in your body. And
Well,
actualize
that's probably the bottom line.
Okay.
That's probably the end result when we get clear and understand what we want to do, what we have potential to doing, how to do it, and the practice, the deliberate practice, so that we can actually get good at it.
And how did you find it? How did you find the idea about self-actualization?
Well, it comes from Abraham Maslow. So many years ago, I had read Abraham Maslow's works, Carl Rogers' works, and others who later I discovered were part of this human potential movement of the 1950s and 60s into the 70s.
Okay. And did you find it during your work or during your studies?
So it was part of psychology. It was part of my clinical counseling degree, as part of a doctoral degree, and then later studying some of the history of the human potential movement, discovering the connection with NLP, that NLP actually came out of that same movement, and many of the same individuals who were key leaders of the human potential movement, the 60s and 70s, were the people who were modeled to create NLP.
Okay. Can you tell us more about that? So some of them might wondering what the human potential movement are.
Yeah. So in the 1960s, Esalen in Middle California was the place that was considered the headquarters, the think tank of the human potential movement. And at Esalen was Gregory Bateson. The first person, scholar in residence at Esalen was Fritz Perls. The first person, director of training and development was Virginia Satir. So really the who's who of NLP and the key mothers and fathers that were modeled were second generation leaders of the human potential movement.
And how does human potential movement relates to the 21st century?
So the human potential movement of the 60s died out in 1985. 1985, not only did Esalen go bankrupt, but the president of the humanistic psychology movement, 1985, at the conference, the Congress, announced that the human potential movement was over.
Okay.
Um, that the main movement had now splintered into lots and lots of fragments. And unknown to him at that time was neurolinguistic programming was one of those fragments. Ericksonian psychology, brief psychotherapy, strength-based psychotherapy were some of the other diverse fragments of the human potential movement. So it just splintered in 1985.
Okay.
2005, reading that history was my discovery that NLP came out of that movement. So wrote some articles about that, got that in several books. I presented at many conferences that this is where NLP came from.
Okay.
It was, as it were, the secret history
Okay.
of NLP.
All right. So it relates to the human now, and some of people think that if you use the human potential movement and you become more human, and because Indonesia
Right.
is a very religious country, some people ask me, so does that make you human without any God or human without any other
Yeah.
spirit thing?
And that really is a big misunderstanding.
Okay.
All humans are spiritual.
Mm.
All of us have visions and values. To have a value and to value something as important is your religion, because you believe something is important. To not believe anything important for us humans is to live a life of meaninglessness and futility, and then the spirit, the inspiration to live for something purposefully dies out. So we're all religious. Now, atheists believe
There is no
in
God.
no God, which is really a big jump of faith.
Yeah, it's said that an atheist takes more faith to be an atheist
Yeah.
than to become a
Yeah.
religious person.
Exactly. Because it's a belief. It's a belief. To believe anything is to believe something we don't have evidence for. We can't prove. Maybe a high probability that such and such exists, but all of us are believers in something.
Okay.
It could be in yourself, could be in money, could be in status, could be in all kinds of unuseful things, or it
Okay.
could be in love,
Okay.
in purpose, in contributing, in making a difference in the world, in leaving the world a better place. And so,
Okay. And why is it important, self-actualization? Even for you, why is that important?
well, if indeed making actual, and in contrast is I don't make it actual. It's a dream, it's a hope, it's a wish. So living with hopes and wishes that never eventuate into I can make it happen, I can do it, is really frustration, because we're made to reveal what's potentials are inside. And the wonderful thing about self-actualization psychology, will never express it all. There's always more. In fact, as you develop and express something, that development increases capacity. Capacity for knowing, for meaning, for vision, for music, for order, for beauty. Capacity grows.
So that's why it's called not self-actualization, but self-actualizing.
Exactly.
Okay. Is there any person that say that they're self-actualized, but they're not actually not?
Well, sure.
Can you
Now you're talking deception and delusion, because nobody has fully developed themselves, and with our short lifespan, 100 years you can't fool. And if capacity is always growing, there's always more. So anybody who quits has stopped the human adventure we call life, and they've quit. So all of life is an adventure to discover what else is possible for someone who's psychologically healthy.
Okay. So for you yourself, how do you self-actualize yourself?
Well, some of the gifts I think I have is gifts of studying and learning, creating models, simplifying it, delivering it, and so what we now know in psychology, compared to what we knew earlier with Sigmund Freud and other people who began, standing on their shoulders, seeing a lot further, we can do so much more. And if indeed there's 90 autoimmune system diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Autoimmune means we're creating them. It means that there's no physical, chemical causation, but that stress and other toxic beliefs is actually turning our energies against ourselves. We have a whole range of things to yet develop and discover, and the excitement, the possibility of being part of some new discoveries
Okay.
is what Neuro-Semantics is about and what I'm about.
Cool. And how did you find out that you have that capacity to learn and to simplify models and probably now teach it? So some of us might wondering, how can I find my, say, highest meaning? I want to do my purpose in life.
So it's a combination of what is a talent to develop, and then passion to care about that, and then context in which we're challenged. So without challenge,
Okay.
nothing's going to develop. So we've got to get out of our comfort zone.
Okay.
So asking people to step up, try something, take a risk, courageously give it a chance to see if something will come out that you may not even be aware of.
Okay. Can you tell when did you find that out for yourself?
Well, very early I found out, very early as a teenager, I found out speaking in public was a context in which I was extremely nervous and extremely excited,
I can't believe that.
and found out that people, it made sense, and so then developing that skill, that talent, into a skill.
Okay. So you were nervous back then.
Oh, definitely.
Even speaking in front of public.
Yeah.
And even in Indonesia, that's the number one fear of people, speaking in public.
Yeah.
So for some of us, laymen, how can we find that talent? You say about trying something courageous,
Right.
but something must stop them.
Well, fear, thinking about worst case, not willing to put oneself on the line. So I had the passion, I had something I wanted to present, I was learning some things, I wanted to present it, and as I did, those opportunities, whether they succeeded or not, and many of them did not, but I learned. And so taking that risk is the only way to refine a talent and turn it into a skill. Because we're not born with skills, we're born with talents. I've got a talent for music or math or athletics, but it's not going to be actual until I turn it into a skill. And skill development always takes time, feedback, trial and error, adjustment.
And even some of them say if you don't have the talent for it, then you cannot do it. So, and what you're saying is each and every one of us has talents inside.
Right.
You just haven't go out there and be courageous enough to polish the skills to make it actual.
This is where the social dimension of us as humans come in. Oftentimes, I can't see it in myself, I can see it in others. Others can see it in me. We need each other to give us that feedback. Oh, you're pretty good at. I think you could get better at. And so we need each other to give us that feedback. And if you're not taking a risk, if you're not trying something, you won't see it, others won't see it.
Great. And how does Neuro-Semantics can help people to self-actualize themselves?
Well, we've got models now, processes, patterns by which we can achieve a particular thing by going through a particular process. So we've got Neuro-Semantics, one of the simple diagrams we use is meaning and performance. Meaning being value, understanding, knowledge, comprehension, vision, and performance being how well I can now turn that into action. So along each one of those, do I need to adjust the meaning and the vision and the value? Do I need to understand it better? And then how, what processes to take some action and get some feedback and create that development. So this is where some mentoring, some internships, some deliberate practice and feedback helps us to let it out, unleash it, and then refine it.
Unleashing it. I think that's one of the biggest theme in Neuro-Semantics, unleashing your potential.
Uh-huh.
And I know if you've created the Self Actualization diploma, so how can that help people?
So with the diploma, we focus on unleashing several different key mechanisms and states. The first is vitality,
Okay.
because if you don't have the energy and vitality, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not eating, sleeping, exercising well, so we humans have to learn how to take care of ourselves well, and with that energy comes vitality. Otherwise, we don't have the energy. So unleashing vitality is a 3-day training. Unleashing potential, how does that work? And so we got a 3-day process on what are the mechanisms, and we've identified 19 mechanisms by which we can find and unleash. What are we going toward? What leashes do we need to release and let go? Then we have creativity. So all of this is creativity. That's personal creativity. And when you solve this problem, self, and get self out of the way to where you're okay and you got energy, and now you're finding the visions and passions for your life, then creating solutions to problems. So this becomes creativity and innovation, unleashing your natural creativity, which every single person has.
Okay.
To think is to be creative. And then with that creativity, then leadership, unleashing leadership. It takes leaders in families, in organizations, in businesses, in government to lead people and bring out the best in people. We have those 4 lead to the diploma, but we also unleash authenticity, helping people get real. Instead of hiding behind masks and personas, which helps us to adjust in society, sometimes we can get lost. So unleashing, being your real self, and then your energy will be really directed. Unleashing persuasion, so that's part of leadership, influencing the minds and hearts of other people. And so all of those trainings are unleashing different facets that make us whole persons.
And for some of you that might be wondering, find your local Neuro-Semantics trainer. Some of them can train in this unleashing diplomas, and
Right.
of course the authenticity and persuasion also. Great. And tell us about assessing personal genius. I know that's one of the flagship of Neuro-Semantics. So what is it about?
The beginning of Neuro-Semantics starts with finding your personal engagement state. So whatever you're engaged in, you can be fully, completely engaged. And when you are, you're in the zone, you're in flow, you're in an optimal state, and there's just something very satisfying humanly about being focused and doing your best at something, whatever that best is. So the 3-day training is to unleash that genius, that focus state, and it's about knowing how to manage the mind, not only what I'm thinking immediately, but the meta levels of mind, what's called metacognition. So I can think about my thinking, I can think and feel about my feeling, and this gives me management. So self-management, self-control, self-discipline, being able to be in charge of me instead of my past, the environment being in charge of me. So when I'm doing that, then I can set the kind of frames that's going to help me to step into that flow state and be fully there. So that's about intentionality. It's about managing the levels of my mind. It's about blowing out excuses so that I'll be true and authentic to myself.
And how does that lead to self-actualization?
Well, that is
That is.
self-actualization. It is enabling people to actualize their best with whatever that engagement is that would be one of their talents.
Okay, great. And one of the questions that I asked by the community was, what if somebody doesn't have that self-actualization? what will happen to their life?
Well, if a person is playing it safe, if a person is protecting themselves from risk, from chance, number one, vitality goes down. No wonder people are depressed. No wonder people are discouraged, frustrated, and now they live trivial life, maybe even futile, and now their energies are going to be at a much lower level, and so it's not much of a life well lived to live that way. It's not very happy or joyful or um, enabling. And the danger is that a person will, wanting to do something, get involved with a substitute actualizing through drugs, through gangs, through violence, through all of the toxic things that human life can take. And now we've got pathology.
So in that pathology, how do you think how many people in the world right now doesn't have that self-actualization?
Well, probably most.
Probably not.
We're just coming out of the jungle.
Uh-huh.
As human beings, we've been in the jungle, and we've been trying to survive until a standard of life can be lived for most people, to where you got some freedom to think and to focus on developing self. And so probably most people are still there.
Okay.
Then a seduction from the media, from Hollywood, comes in, that the purpose of life is money, the purpose of life is status, the purpose of life is being approved by everybody. And so we get substitute, pseudo self-act. People think they're going to actualize themselves in those ways, and it won't work. So getting to the human values of meaningfulness and beauty or order or contribution or justice or fairness or making a difference or contributing. Getting to the human values, which is really what allows us to actualize our best.
And you say that people are not living their dreams. They live for status, for money, or even some trivial things. What drives that in people?
Well, we all want to be the best self. And if something deceives and seduces us to thinking the best self is status or position or money or whatever that is, then we'll go there because we think that's what's going to work. The very fact that so many people in Hollywood with lots of money, lots of fame, lots of recognition commit suicide tells us that that's a dead-end road if that's the purpose of your life. And so Maslow's original hierarchy, the jungle involved 4 needs, motivations that we all have to survive, to be safe and have a stable world, to connect with others, to belong, love and affection, and to feel important. And what Maslow noted about that is that the higher social animals have all those needs. So we haven't started to become human uniquely, distinctly with those needs. Those are biological needs, they're valid, and we need to satisfy them. And when we satisfy them, that'll release us to the self-actualization needs and values and motivations. And the difference is, at the lowest level, it's about receiving. I need food, water, shelter, sleep. I need stability, safety, security. I need love and affection. I need to be important. Once we shift to self-actualization, I need to give. So people who are givers, which tends to be the best leaders, the best people on planet Earth, are the ones who need to give music and beauty and knowledge and meaning and justice. And so they're the ones who change the world. And so you can tell if you're living a self-actualizing life, are you in receiving mode, taking mode, or are you in giving mode? And so we do need to receive until we're solid, have a good sense of self, and we can get self out of the way. So now it's about expressing one's best.
If that's one of the signs of a self-actualizing people, is there any other sign?
Well, that's the biggest one. Another sign is that I'm not focused on me. Paradox. Self-actualization frees you from you. That I don't focus on myself. I'm okay. I'm good to go. I'm ready to do what I do best. That is a gift to others.
Is there any way a person can test that? If I'm focusing not on me but on others, I'm
Sure.
giving value.
Well, sure.
What kind of test would that be?
Look on your calendar and look in your checkbook.
Okay.
Where are you spending your time and money?
Uh-huh.
If you're spending your time and money on me, you're in that mode.
Okay.
If you're spending time and money on others,
Ah.
on contributing, so checkbook and schedule would be a good way to
But
benchmark it.
even for myself, I have a fear of giving money to others. We are probably wired, just for me.
Right.
How can a person get out of it? If I know I have high meetings, I know I can perform, but sometimes, just sometimes, it's all about me. It's not about others. So, is it saying that self-actualizing is actually a mode that you can tap into, and then sometimes you're probably not in the zone. You're not. You're out of
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay.
Now stepping into it, and so what is your gift to others? So it could be just time. I give time to be present to people. I mean, what a gift! It could be knowledge. Here's some information. Here's some knowledge. Most teachers are motivated in that way. They want to give. They learn something. They want to express it. As they express it, of course, they learn more, and they open up capacity for more.
Okay.
It could be justice. So here's someone who is pushing for more fairness, justice in rules and laws, whether it's in an organization or government. And so they're pushing so that people can be treated respectfully and equally. There's just something about we humans thrive when there's equality, when there's status and there's hierarchy. Some people are more important than other people. It really doesn't bring out the best. And so, but then there's money. Now, how to give money is a whole issue, because just giving money sometimes can make people more dependent
Yeah.
and less capable. So helping people to learn how to fish and not just give them the fish
Ah. Okay.
is a healthy way of self-actualization.
Okay.
If you give and you deplete yourself, that's a unhealthy way to do it. So sometimes you have to spend a good part of your life, like Bill Gates and his wife, gaining so that they can then have plenty to give.
Okay. And you say what's stopping it's fear.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what they fear about if they come to that self-actualization?
Well, this is where most fears are unrealistic.
Oh.
Most fears are semantic. They're not even actual fears. So an actual fear is going to be a physical fear. I'm going to fall. I'm going to do something, lose a job. So, but most fears are semantic. I'm afraid of what people will think. I'm afraid of what possibly could happen, maybe if. So we run these what if scenarios, scare ourselves. So then we go back as if we're in danger. And the only danger, what's the risk? So I could lose some money. Okay, how much money can you lose? So risk that much. But we do either or thinking.
Okay.
I can't lose money, so I can't lose anything. Can't lose $1, risk $1. So part of it is risk management and understanding what we risk. And sometimes we go into the state of fear and then we start generalizing it and putting fear to things that we don't need to be afraid of.
Okay.
What if someone dislikes what I say?
Great. And Neuro-Semantics has the tools to handle that. Great. And I got a questions
Okay.
from the community. I know you mentioned about religion before. So one of the person asked, how can neurosemantics or self-actualization helps with religion, with their own religion?
Okay. So first, let's distinguish healthy religion and unhealthy.
Okay.
So for me, and I think most people would agree, for me, healthy religion is that religion increases your sense of love, compassion, contribution, sense of democracy, sense of equality. So an unhealthy religion would be a religion that I'm more important than other people. I hate some people. I'm going to destroy some people. So, so there's healthy and unhealthy.
Okay.
And so with a healthy religion, most of the major religions on the planet put love of self, love of other, love of God as first commandment. So, so that's how it could help. How can I be more loving? How can I quit letting irritations, annoyances get in my way of caring for the person? So as we distinguish person and behavior, now I can be more loving even if I don't like behavior. And I can distinguish, well, they're more than that behavior. That's just the way they talk right now, what they're doing right now, level of development right now, the person. I love the human being and that person. So neurosemantics, we can help with compassion, with understanding, with communication, with developing whatever the spiritual virtues are. And most of the virtues are going to be, love and inner peace and joyfulness and contributing and self-discipline. The virtues are going to be the virtues that philosophy and religion have identified for thousands of years.
Great. Thank you, Michael. It's been such a pleasure.
Well,
I think I covered all the questions from the community.
okay.
Otherwise, I just find you and ask you again.
Okay, good.
It's
Good.
been such a gift
Well,
having you.
That's my pleasure.
So we've covered about what the self-actualization is, why is that important, how you can do the processes, and all the trainings that you can have in Neuro-Semantics, and what if.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time,
Yeah.
and I hope you enjoy your time in Bali.
Yes.
It'll be fun for the next couple of days.
Okay.
So, thank you very much for listening. Again, this is Dr. L. Michael Hall, the co-founder of Neuro-Semantics and the co-founder of the Meta Coaching Systems. If you have any questions about Neuro-Semantics or if you have any questions about self-actualizations, find your local trainers. As of now, we have about 8 trainers in Indonesia and probably going to have 12 more by the end of this week,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you like this video, and comment below if you want to have any questions about Neuro-Semantics and self-actualization. Thank you, Michael.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.